and welcome to another installment of DeKalb Talks Tourism. We're excited to have a repeat, our first repeat of John Zaller with Exhibition Hub. How's it going, John?
Going well. Glad to be back. I was your first podcast
Yep.
attendee, and so I'm glad to be back as the first return guest.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's why you
Series
get
first.
two mug.
That's right. I have the brown one. You sent it to me in the mail. It was really nice, and then this will complement it very well.
So the first one and the first one repeats. That's very cool. And I'm sure with you all having things changing all the time, we like bringing you in. So tell us what you got going on right now that's new for everyone.
So the Exhibition Hub Art Center in Doraville at 5660 Buford Highway has been open for just about a year.
Wow.
And we've had 5 different exhibitions go through there at this point, which and hundreds of thousands of people have come to our art center, which is a wonderful testament to the location,
Yes.
the content we have, but also the interest in the city for this kind of cultural experience. We're currently running a King Tut show called Tutankhamun, His Tomb and Treasures. And then we've brought back the world-famous Van Gogh, the Immersive Experience to the Atlanta market, which has been really well received.
Van Gogh, I did go to that one. It was unbelievable. I mean, just to walk through, and then the first part I have to talk about was the tea service. It was Japanese tea.
Yep.
and the crystal clear teapots and all that. Oh my God, that was amazing. And then one of your big exhibit rooms, the immersion room, I was like there for 30, 40 minutes just relaxing and calming down. It is spectacular.
So the Japanese tea is something that we started doing a couple years ago, and it's meant to. It does a couple things. One is, this is an immersive experience, so we want to touch on all the senses. So here you get the beautiful scent of the Japanese flowering tea, a wonderful taste of some tea that we serve. It's also part of a larger story, which is that Van Gogh's work was heavily, heavily influenced by Japanese art. Japanese art had really just become well known in Europe. It was just reaching the shores of Europe around the time that Van Gogh was creating as an artist. And he actually, when he was living in Paris, went to an art dealer and saw these Japanese prints that were so literally foreign to him, such a different way of creating art, that I think he bought about 100 prints the first day that he ever came in contact with these. And it really gave him a definition or a new way of thinking about how to produce his own works. So in the Japanese theme, we have created a second immersive gallery in our new Van Gogh experience at our Exhibition Hub Art Center that shows you the influence of Japanese art over time on European art. And so it's really cool to see these Japanese woodcuts and these Japanese prints from hundreds and hundreds of years previous basically appearing almost as these inspired copies in the art of these great famous Western artists like Van Gogh, like Monet, like Klimt, who we have immersives on all of those artists. So it's really interesting to see how they were all influenced by this Japanese art.
I didn't know that part, so that was very cool.
Yeah, and it's really, when you look at Van Gogh's work, Starry Night, for example, you see these short, sharp brush strokes that all create this fluid movement. And that's exactly what a Japanese woodcut does. You think about the famous wave illustration from Japanese art, and that's really it's this beautiful flowing wave. But when you look at it more closely, it's a series of short, sharp cuts, and that's really what Van Gogh's brushstroke style is like. So it was a wonderful blending of the East and the West, at the same time where Van Gogh created a revolutionary style that really is his own signature style, all the way to today.
Two parts of the thing that seem to really hit me was one. Wasn't there like a series of wood pieces that like you would look through them and it would form a actual complete model, but it was in stages.
That's right. So we call that an anamorphic, and it's a multi-layered um, version of Van Gogh's courtesan painting, which is essentially a painting of a geisha with all the beautiful colors that are associated with Japanese art and Van Gogh's love of color. But when you first enter the room, you see it from the side.
Right.
So you're like, "What is this?" And you're kind of looking at all these layers. It's um, surprising to the eye when you enter the room.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk around to the front of it, and as you come around, you see this assemble into the courtesan painting. And what that does, besides being a wonderful visual revelation to the guest, which is obviously a part of it, surprise and delight around every corner. That's one of the things that we really aim for, is to see how all the layers create a flat image that has depth to it. And that's another thing that in Japanese art that was so surprising to the Western artists was the amount of depth that they could get onto a flat canvas. And, Van Gogh really replicated that style. He really iterated it. He worked on his own version of it and was able to create all of this depth in his work being inspired by those Japanese artists.
So that was cool. That was something I didn't know that much about Van Gogh, but that was very interesting to learn about that, to see it, to have the tea kind of open up the whole conversation. And so one of the things when you're finishing it is you have the oculus that gives you such a cool ending where you can just sit there. And what's neat is I actually started spinning around in my chair and was able to like just go around the room 360. It was like very cool ending.
So all of these immersive experiences, we really take that seriously when we say immersion. I mean, you do have, and I think we talked about this last time, people who say, "Oh, immersion is projection on walls." So what we've seen is some producers who are basically putting up some projectors, putting some art on the wall, and saying, "Hey, it's an immersive experience." But when we say immersive, we really mean we're gonna place you in that world.
Yeah.
We're going to place you in the thoughts, in the times, in the life, in the technique of that artist, so you can really see the world through their eyes. And we do it through an experience funnel where when you first enter the experience, you learn about the artist through text panels and some seriously deep research that we've done on Van Gogh and the other artists that we do this work with. You can look at their paintings in reproduction, so you can study their masterworks all together, which you'd have to travel around the world to be able to do. Some small immersive theaters, a documentary theater. One of my favorites is where we're projecting all of Van Gogh's flower paintings on a vase because he painted so many paintings of flowers. The geisha or courtesan 3D build out, and also his bedroom that you can step into. The immersive gallery, which is our crown jewel, 35-minute loop, 4K projection technology. So these are all ways of going deeper and deeper into the art. And at the end, the grand finale is the virtual reality.
So the loop is 35 minutes. So I was there longer than that because I saw the beginning and I saw the beginning again. So that was very, very neat.
We do find that people, it's very Zen-like. People really settle in. I actually am, one of my landlords right now is a former clinical psychologist. And so she said that it's a dopamine release for her every time she goes in. It just calms her down. So whenever she has a stressful day, because she runs a whole shopping center, this is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, she says she just goes into the immersive gallery and relaxes and recenters herself. But yeah, so people do stick around. What we typically find is they come in at a certain point, they watch the entire show, and then they say, "Oh, I want to stay for my favorite part." And then they might stay for a whole second viewing, or maybe another 15 minutes. So you could spend close to an hour just in that immersive gallery.
Yes.
Following that immersive gallery, we have the virtual reality. So now you've learned about the artist, you've stepped into some of his physical build-outs, like the bedroom. You've been bathed in his paintings. And now putting those Oculus on, you literally see the world through the eyes of the artist. And you watch 10 of his most iconic paintings come to life before your very eyes. It is a incredibly satisfying and fulfilling experience for our guests. I mean, people coming out with smiles on their face, tears of joy, sense of wonder. It's a wonderful finale, and it's not virtual reality is not something that is people get to do a lot,
Right.
especially in this way. You know, you think about virtual reality, it's shoot 'em up games,
Right.
or I mean, primarily that something like that. And here we've got this wonderful art tour where you just have to sit back. It's in 360, so we put you in a swivel chair, as you mentioned, and you're just looking all around you, taking it all in.
Oh, it's a phenomenal ending for it. It's still, I mean, not that you're already calm from leaving the big immersion, but then going there, it's just an extra, like, calming moment. It's very cool. And then for me, you walk out into a coffee shop.
That's
So
right.
you have great coffee and awesome desserts, and then you get my wife and my oldest son were there, and they were drawing the Van Goghs and putting it up on the computer, and we're taking pictures, and so you can be an adult kid while you're there.
Absolutely. So I mean that's another part of the interactive element of the experience is we call it color in post or sketch in post, because you take a Van Gogh painting, partially completed, or you take a blank page, awaken the inner artist within you.
Hmm.
We give you some big fat crayons to color with, which people initially think, oh, that's for kids. But actually, it helps you understand Van Gogh's painting style because he used these very
Oh,
thick
okay.
brush strokes and these very heavy applications of paint. And I've seen everybody from 3-year-olds to octogenarians in there just coloring away. Because once you start,
Yeah.
you really do focus in on it. And it is so meditative, and you get to become a part of the experience. And the reason we say color in post is because you then scan it into our
Yep.
scanner, goes up onto the big screen in that gallery, and you become part of the show forever.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful completion to the overall experience in that fantastic art center cafe that we've created, where we do have some great coffees. We have wonderful desserts,
You
as
do.
well as some great beer and wine offerings.
I missed that. It's probably too early.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was.
But I had my inner artist drinking coffee, so that was me. So tell us about the newest exhibit that just started, I believe, in September.
So Tutankhamun, his tomb and treasures, is a 20,000 plus square foot experience that literally takes you from the discovery of King Tut's tomb to unpacking that tomb in a very
Mm.
special way. So it's a show of replicas. These are all replicas that were created using essentially the playbook created by photographers from the Metropolitan Museum of Art during the excavation of the tomb.
Wow.
Um, these replicas are recreated exquisitely, painstakingly by Egyptian craftspeople from studios in Cairo.
Wow.
And we worked with several notable Egyptologists to develop this entire project. But basically, what we do is we introduce you to the concept of Egypt, the reign of the pharaohs, the incredible cultural dynasty and empire that they created. Um, and then we talk about the other pharaohs who were, in many ways, these great rulers who ruled for a long time, ruled to old age. Um, and then we introduced the concept of Tutankhamun, this boy king who became king at the age of 9, ruled for just a few years, and died sort of unexpectedly, and was buried in a smaller tomb. Over the years, all the other tombs were discovered and mostly raided. So all the gold, all the so many of the pieces that were associated with these great kings disappeared from their tombs.
Mm.
And there was a archaeologist, Egyptologist named Howard Carter, who was working about 100 years ago and had these visions and heard these rumors of this boy king and started to map out where this tomb might be. He was backed by a very wealthy benefactor who was falling on some hard times, and his benefactor contacted him and said, we have to stop this exploration. We can't work on this anymore. And Howard Carter had spent 6 years, 5 winters, looking for this tomb of this boy king.
Wow.
Essentially, the day after he got that telegram, he discovered the tomb. So he was at the down to the very last dollar, and he made one more effort, went out, scraped away some dust in an area where he had a sense that there might be something, and discovered the language that said Tutankhamun. He peered in with a candle into this small hole that had been dug, and all around him he saw the glitter of gold. And that was the burial chamber of King Tut. And that was the big discovery. It's 101 years ago that King Tut's tomb was discovered. And what we do in this exhibition, which is all very much object based, so it's a more traditional style of approach that I find that people really still enjoy. They enjoy that museum style experience of looking at objects and learning text panel by text panel. There's also a wonderful audio tour that accompanies you throughout the entire experience. That's part of the ticket price. But we take you into the 3 burial chambers of King Tut, and you see the jumbled mess of all of the objects that were kind of crammed into this small tomb for this relatively small king. And then in the next 15,000 feet, we unpack the 3,600 objects that were in that tomb. And you can see each piece, you see 1,000 of these pieces laid out as though you're in the workshop preparing for the burial. So it's an incredibly deep way to learn about King Tut while also having a wonderful exhibition experience.
That's utterly amazing.
It
To be able to
it
go
is
in,
amazing.
and these are all exact reproductions, I guess you could say, and then to see all that and experience all that. So, we've all seen the movie The Ten Commandments and Moses and the Pharaohs. Was that before or after King Tut?
That was before.
That was before.
Yeah.
Okay. It's also interesting. It seems like you said it was 101 years ago,
That his tomb was discovered.
but
Yeah.
it's almost like it's a cult current thing. Besides this exhibit, it seems like, I mean, I'm almost 60. It seems like it's almost like it happened in my time period, but not.
Well, I mean, Tut has been a part of the kind of the American cultural consciousness since the 70s, when the first objects from Egypt were toured in the United States. A couple of objects that made it to several museums, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art, with hundreds of thousands, millions of people pouring into these museum galleries to see these objects. I think it's the connection with the ancient past, with the with such an advanced civilization
Yeah.
that was, 2,000, 2,500 years ago, to think about all the technology and engineering and ingenuity and culture and craftsmanship that was going on, that occurred so long ago. It's a bit mind-boggling to think that there was a civilization and a culture so rich that existed so long ago. It connects us with a deeper, more meaningful past, and that's something that we're always looking for, that deeper
Yeah.
connection. And since that time, you know, ancient Egypt's taught in school, has been taught in school. It people we gravitate to it. I think it's the innate sense of wonder in each of us that continues to ring on and on. Some Tut artifacts from Egypt did tour in the early 2000s as well. Made a stop in Atlanta here. They had about 50 objects from Egypt, and did a tour of the United States that was a big deal. Again, millions of people pouring out at museum galleries to see it. But those objects have all been returned to Egypt, and it's very unlikely that they're ever coming back again. So you can go to Cairo, you can go to Luxor, you can go to the Valley of the Kings, and you can see some of these objects. or you can come right down the street to Buford Highway, and you can see 1,000 of them perfectly recreated as though you're in Egypt.
So we love people to come in here and experience both the exhibits and just have a great time and experience all the other things that DeKalb has to offer. So that's extremely cool. So if you want to see these two exhibits, it's going on how long?
So we're going to be running both of these experiences through the end of the year.
Okay.
So it's great time for folks planning their trips to put us on the calendar. What we find is we're a nice part of a day for people. We do have a couple packages where you can, like, we had a summer happiness package that we ran in the summer. We're going to have a holiday package where you can experience both exhibits on the same day, take a break, go to one of the incredible eateries along Buford Highway and stop and get a bite to eat. Have a bite in the Exhibition Hub Art Center Cafe. But we also we find that we're part of a day, so it's wonderful for people living in Metro Atlanta to come see us. But also, if you're coming in from Birmingham or Greensboro or Charlotte, you can just basically get on the freeway, get right off at 285 and 85, and experience the art center, but then take in the other wonderful offerings of DeKalb County.
So we can get you in from feeder markets, feeder cities to come and experience, or just think about how many people come to visit their family at Christmas. It's a great opportunity to have a new experience for all the families coming in at Christmas time or the holiday time period and go out and see the exhibition hub.
The holidays are obviously a great time for families to get together, as you pointed out. You're always looking for something to do with the family day after Thanksgiving, over the Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
And we have a nice big 50,000 square foot facility. We've got over 400 parking spaces. We have really easy access, and you do get into that vibe. Like, let's go explore the city. Let's go do something new, do something different. And for people who have experienced Van Gogh in the past, it's always new when you come and see it again. There's always something new to take in, and again, that feeling of peacefulness that digital art can provide is always going to be there for you, no matter how many times you come.
True, very true. So what do you got for the future you can talk about?
So we're going to be there a long time. We've had a lot of great success so far, a lot of great support from the community. Couple different shows that we will bring to Atlanta. One is called Dinos Alive, and I've done a lot of dinosaur exhibitions, including the Jurassic World exhibition that's currently being shown in Atlanta. And I find this to be one of my favorites because, again, we use those immersive digital technology elements combined with over 80 animatronic dinosaurs in an environment that feels like you're in the Mesozoic jungle. We've got theatrical lighting. We have you're working your way through the jungle. We have all these 80 plus dinosaur models that are created from scientific study of what these dinosaurs looked like. We have a deep sea gallery that you dive into digitally. You swim with the Mosasaurus and the giant ancient sea creatures. And of course, you have to protect yourself from them. So you have a big rubber gym ball that you can throw at the wall and redirect the fishes. So that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun especially for the kids.
Interactive besides immersive.
Interactive, and then there's a virtual reality component there as well. So that'll be coming sometime soon. And then we have another incredible show we've just opened called Bubble Planet. And that is 14 different rooms, all designed around the idea of the bubble. So, of course, you've got your bubble room with soap bubbles. But think about air bubbles, bubbles in the sea, a bubble bath, which is our giant ball pit, a balloon ocean that is, not to be missed. It's big pink latex balloons that you essentially are buried in and swimming through.
Oh, wow.
Some meditative moments in a sphere where you watch a whole series you hear a really relaxing soundtrack with projection that's all inspired by bubbles, um, and an opportunity to take a hot air balloon ride right there, without ever leaving the ground. So it's really been very well received. I think it's what, in some ways, it's kind of what we need right now. We need that playful escape from whatever's going on in the world, whatever's going on in our lives, and it's great for families. But we also see a lot of couples on date nights, and the show's been open in LA for a while, so we've had an incredible interest from celebrities, which is always fun when you get that kind of buzz going,
Yes.
because the celebrities, they show up with their tickets, and they're in line, and people are like, oh my God, that's whoever. We had Matthew Stafford was there. We had Nick Cannon. We had Kim Kardashian. A lot of the Kardashians have come, so that's fun too, because then people are coming. Also
To see if they can find them.
see if they can find them as well, and then everybody wants to post. It's incredibly Instagram worthy experience. I think some influencers have definitely been launched from Bubble World and Bubble Planet, but it's also just it's great in terms of engaging with your family and your friends and your loved ones through play in a different way.
It's interesting when you're saying the celebrities because with the amount of filming that's done in Atlanta and in DeKalb County, once everything gets back on track again, who knows who might come out to the exhibition hub.
That's true. We actually have we've had quite a few celebrity visits, private tours that we've done, but hopefully very soon we're going to be back in full production with all the great films that are being and television and programming that's being done in Georgia.
And right down the road's Assembly.
Assembly is right down the road, and they've got some sound stages open. NBC Universal is kicking it into full gear. Assembly's working on their next phase, and so we're looking forward to sharing audiences between the Arts Center and the Assembly, because also Doraville's working on a new master plan for downtown. Some great walking trails that can come right from the MARTA stop right to our front door, basically. So that's another great addition in terms of being in Doraville, and they have a great plan for becoming a more art-centric city, and we're thrilled to be an anchor part of that plan.
So I love to hear about that as it unravels. So you got anything? We were talking before the show started. You're doing some very cool yoga experiences and things like that.
So we always try to include additional programming into our experiences, and we try to find programming that makes sense with whatever the show is. We have done yoga with our immersive art experiences in the past. Again, that immersive gallery where you could spend all day.
Definitely.
Do that with a yoga instructor who's guiding you through the paces. So that's something that we'll be bringing back. We're also, speaking of Tulsa, we are going to do a partnership with Tulsa Ballet to create a movement class that we will, where basically it's a lot of what we do is we want to make sure that our stuff is accessible to everybody, that there isn't a feeling of oh, you have to be at a certain level to walk into the building. And what's great about that is the audiences that are coming in our door are every walk of life. Every day I see people from all over the city, all over the country, every race, creed, disposition, and all enjoying it. And I think it's part of the way that we set it up. We make it so that it's easy to get to us. It's easy to get what we're doing, but you're also going to learn something there, and you're going to have a rich experience while you're there. But in the same way, a motion-based class that's led by a dance instructor, but that's more about movement, is in some ways easier for people to get than yoga. So we're going to work on that with Tulsa Ballet, but as that develops, we'll bring that to Atlanta as well. And who knows, maybe we'll do something with Atlanta Ballet here in town. Also in December, if not sooner, but in December, I've got a plan. We should be promoting it pretty soon. to do a wine tasting event based around King Tut. So, working with our local expert, Dr. Melinda Hartwig, who's at Emory and the Carlos Museum, we're working on developing a tasting where you some of the different wines that Howard Carter would have drunk. So, a Chablis, for example, while he's doing his excavations. Of course, a sparkling wine or a champagne. But then, as we get into the other galleries, some big reds and red wines that are inspired by the wine of ancient Egypt. Some recent studies have argued, it's not fully proven out, that winemaking actually began in Egypt.
Yeah.
And it is known that the first real writing in Egypt was done to label wine jugs. So there's this incredible connection between wine and culture and the culture of ancient Egypt. So we want to bring people through, and at the same time that we're doing these wine tastings, let them hear from our local expert, Dr. Hartwig, about why they're here, what they're experiencing. So it's a double whammy of culture. The culture, the viniculture of wine plus the culture of ancient Egypt.
And you don't really think about Egypt and wine.
If you were in Egypt, you would. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's places that Dr. Hartwig, who's in Egypt probably 3 times a year, there's places where they're excavating and they see these rings, and I don't know when they figured it out, but they were basically, it's by the big paintings that Egypt is so famous for, and they would find these big rings. Those rings were wine jugs that the craftsmen were setting down as they were moving along doing their paintings. So they were sipping away on their wine, working away at their art.
Another reason to come to DeKalb and go to Doraville and see Exhibition Hub.
Absolutely.
Wine tastings, get some history with it, enjoy the evening. Nice thing for adults to get out and have a adults' night out.
It's a great. I mean, it's great for kids what we're doing,
Right.
but it's even better for their parents and for a lot of our audience is 18 to 24. So it's kids looking for something. It's young people looking for something to do, and we offer that through this great cultural escape. Plus, come on out for the evening and then make an evening of it in the that part of up here in Doraville and in DeKalb County.
Well, that's been great news. We're excited. Before we close, is there anything you want to bring up while we're here?
I'm really proud to see the development of the podcast.
Yes.
I remember when we first set this up. We were talking about it, and then being back in the studio, seeing it so much more come to life. And I had to schedule this 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are booked up. You've got great content running, and it's a testament to what you're doing in DeKalb County overall. That you're continuing to generate awareness, you're continuing to bring in interesting subjects, and it bodes well for everybody in DeKalb County. So
Well,
thank you for that.
We appreciate that. I know I learned so much from this, and got to thank Monica for getting this put together and having this and having all the great people coming on to the show. Well, we appreciate you coming back, and when Bubbles and some of the others come back, we have to get you back on here.
Be happy to do it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.